Hi, I'm Rod Pry, the director of the Pennsylvania State Sunday School Association, and I'd like to talk with you today about teaching children of the church and Sunday school in the coronavirus age. In Mark chapter 10, we are told that some parents were bringing their children to Jesus so that he could bless them. The disciples saw this and tried to stop it. I'm sure they thought that Jesus had more important things to do and that these parents were bothering their master. But in verse 14, Jesus scolded the disciples, saying, "Let the children come to me. Don't stop them." And certainly this has always been Jesus' will, that all children should be brought to him, to learn about him, what he did and what he said. He wants them to learn that he wants to be their friend and for them to invite him into their hearts. That's certainly the goal, but is it really happening today? As concerns and restrictions related to the coronavirus begin to ease, many churches are beginning to reopen on a limited basis. But even as worship services do begin to restart, social distancing, the wearing of masks, and other restrictions will still be in place. Worship services will slowly begin to take place once again. But what about Sunday school and other children's programs? It's hard to require kids, especially small children, to wear a mask. And keeping kids and the teachers all 6 feet apart at all times is virtually impossible. So as a result, most churches are not planning to restart their Sunday school and other children's programming. That might be the safe thing to do for the physical health of the kids, but what about the spiritual and emotional health of our children? Jesus said, "Let the children come to me." And I can't find that he added any conditions to that statement. He didn't say, "Let the children come to me," except when there might be a pandemic or some other big concern. No, I believe that today Sunday school and similar classes and programs for children are as important as ever, maybe even more important. Why? Because during these trying times, kids are looking for answers. They're looking for assurance, hope, safety, and security. I recently read an article on the internet about questions that children have related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the questions were even a little comical, but many of them were all very serious. For example, one kid answered, "Did God cause the coronavirus?" And another child asked, "Why did my grandma have to die from the coronavirus?" These and other questions need to be answered. Today, there are so many things being said that you really don't know who or what to believe. But there is one source of information that is always true and reliable, and that is the Bible. And there is one person who will always be a child's best and truest friend, Jesus Christ. I also recently read an article by a child psychologist who was talking about the mental and emotional stress that this whole COVID-19 pandemic is having on children. The psychologist said that many children are very upset and troubled because their normal way of life has been turned upside down. They're not able to see their friends and relatives. They can't go to school, and there might be economic issues affecting their family as well. Children are looking for answers. And as I just said, the Bible has answers. Yes, it's true. You won't find the words coronavirus or COVID-19 anywhere in the Bible, but the principles are there. The Bible tells us of God's great love and care. It tells us of the hope, assurance, and love that He wants to offer to each person who seeks Him. And it tells us that everyone needs to come to know Jesus Christ as personal Lord and Savior. He wants to be their closest and dearest friend. But if we can't get the kids together for Sunday school and other children's Bible study groups at the church, what are we to do? And whose responsibility is it to try to reach and teach kids during these trying times? Let me try to answer that second question first. You know, the pastor and other church leaders will probably be very busy right now trying to get the worship services restarted. And they won't have a whole lot of time to devote to the children's Sunday school classes and other children's ministry activities. So, unless your church has a designated children's ministry worker or pastor, it will probably be up to the teachers of those individual classes to continue the classes and programs. And that brings up another important question. Do you, as a teacher or leader in the children's department of your Sunday school or church, see the importance and necessity of continuing those Bible study classes for children? And if so, what can you do? Obviously, since you can't or shouldn't get the kids together at the church, you'll have to conduct your classes through some sort of distance learning media. I've talked with a number of teachers over the past several months who find the whole idea of using distance learning and things like Zoom online meeting app a little bit frightening and even intimidating. They like to teach the way they are used to teaching, in a classroom with the kids right there with them. But since that may not be possible at this time, we obviously need to be open to learning some new methods and tools. And although these ideas may be new to you, they're not that difficult to learn. There are a lot of how-to videos on YouTube to help you learn how to use things like Zoom and other media and distance learning as well. I mentioned the Zoom meeting app because many teachers from both public and private schools have been using Zoom to conduct classes over the past several months when schools were closed. With Zoom, you can see the students if they have a computer with a camera, and they can see and hear the teacher as well. And remember, almost all kids today, even very young preschool children, have access to a computer, and they are all very, very tech savvy. But even if you don't want to use one of the high-tech teaching apps like Zoom, there are still a number of things that you can do. For example, you could make a video of your lesson with your smartphone and place it on YouTube. You could also set up a telephone conference call using your smartphone. And you can also simply print out worksheets and send them to the kids through the mail or by email. Whatever method you choose to use, there is something very important that you must do before you start contacting the kids or trying to get them involved in any type of an online or distance learning lesson. What am I talking about? You need to contact the parents. All parents want to keep their kids safe, especially when it comes to using their computer, the internet, and their phones. So, before you try to contact the children, be sure to email or phone each parent and tell them what you're planning to do, and ask for their permission to send information to their kids. And if you're using Zoom or a similar online meeting app, be sure to send the meeting ID and password information to the parents before you send them to the child. And in many cases, the parents will actually need to set up the computer for the child to use before the actual meeting begins. Then, once you've decided on what you're going to do and the media or method that you're going to use to deliver the message, the next obvious question would be, what are you going to teach? As I said earlier, one of the important topics to address right now would relate to children's questions and concerns about the coronavirus. Or if you've been using a standard curriculum in your regular lessons, you could continue to use those lessons. And if you're not able to have your usual summer vacation Bible school this year, you might use those lesson materials for your studies. Always remember, there are things that all children need to learn in church and Sunday school. They need to learn what's right and what's wrong. They need to learn about the stories and the people of the Bible, people who followed God and those who rejected His leading. And they need to learn about Jesus Christ, His life, His ministry, and the way of salvation that is available through His death and resurrection. In addition, the kids will always have questions and concerns, and you, as their teacher, should always try to help them find the answers that they're looking for. Once you've decided on the lesson topic, the next question would be, how can I teach the lesson that I want to teach through the distance learning method that I've chosen? Obviously, there are some things that you simply will not be able to do if you're using Zoom or the phone or worksheets. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that you will be able to do. Using Zoom, for example, you can share stories, have devotions, have the children join in your prayer time, ask questions, have discussion, and much, much more. But remember, children who are sitting there in front of a computer screen may become easily distracted or bored and leave or become disinterested. For that reason, you should always add as much variety as you can to your lesson presentation. And try to keep each segment of your lesson short. Remember, children have a very short attention span. In fact, it's said that if you take the age of the child in years and cross out the word years and replace it with the word minutes, you have the approximate attention span of a child of that age. For example, a 5-year-old has about a 5-minute attention span, and a 10-year-old about a 10-minute attention span. So, rather than trying to use a long 15-minute activity with 5-year-olds, use a series of 5-minute lesson activities. Several other important reminders related to using distance learning activities with children. Trying to get 15 or 25 kids involved in a Zoom meeting lesson can be a real challenge. If you have a large class, divide the group and do several different lessons with no more than 6 to 8 kids involved at one time. It's also important to remember that children learn through their senses, what they see, hear, touch, smell, and taste. And the more of these senses that you can engage throughout your lesson, the more involved the kids will be, and the more you will have their attention. True, if you're using most distance learning media, you won't be able to do much to involve the kids' smell or taste or touch. But be creative and think of things that you can do to involve as many of the senses of the students as possible throughout your lesson. And also, try to get the parents involved. You can have the lesson for the kids, but also try to give them ideas for additional study and activities where the parents can work with the kids too. And remember, fellowship and service should always be an important part of every class. Even though you might not be able to get the kids and their families together for a party at the church right now, there are things that you can do. Get the kids and their families involved in an online scavenger hunt. Have a Zoom meeting lunch. Or by setting up a Facebook group so that the kids of the class can communicate with each other. And as more and more areas relax regulations involved with outdoor activities, you might also be able to have an outdoor picnic for the kids and their families. And you also need to remember the importance of service. If you have a class mission project, encourage the kids to save their change and give it toward the project. And if it's possible, encourage the kids to help their families, neighbors, and others by doing simple chores like mowing someone's lawn or running simple errands. And don't forget the importance of application of each of your lessons. What will the kids do with what they have learned once your class session is over? Will they just let the lesson fade away, or will they be challenged to put the lesson into action during the week ahead? I believe that it is extremely important for you to challenge your students to put the lesson into practice, to make it personal. How can you do this? Give the kids some ideas for things that they can do with what they have learned. Ask the children for their own ideas too. For example, if you've had a lesson about love, you could simply tell the kids to go out and love everybody this week, but I think that you could even be more specific. You might say, what will you do this week if someone says something mean or hurtful to you? How will you respond? Let the kids give you some ideas, but also be prepared to give them your suggestions too. And you might also give the kids an idea for a project or a craft that they can do at home with their parents to put the lesson into action. For example, if you've had a lesson on love, like I just mentioned, maybe the kids could paint some round river rocks with hearts or other messages of love and then place them in visible locations throughout your neighborhood. And if you're looking for more lesson ideas and other resources, go to the internet. You'll find lots of prepared lessons and learning games for kids, and dozens of other ideas that you could include as resources in the lessons that you prepare and teach. One other idea. Before you have your actual online meeting, you might send the kids an email reminder about the time when the meeting will take place. And with that reminder, you might give them a question that will get them thinking about the topic that you're going to be studying. You might also give them the suggestion for a Bible passage that they could read before the lesson. As I hope you can see, continuing Sunday school and other Bible study programs with your children of your church, Sunday school, and community are all very important, especially in these trying times. And whatever you need to do and whatever media you need to use, it will be worth it. The children need it. Why? Because they need Jesus Christ. And they need to learn more about Him and His book, the Bible. In closing, I really hope and pray that you will do all that you can do to continue to reach out to the children of your church and community, and to try to involve each of these kids in an active, ongoing program of Bible study. And that you will do all that you can do to make each of your lessons interesting, relevant, and fun for everyone involved. I'm Rod Pry from the Pennsylvania State Sunday School Association. Thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts and ideas with you, and may God bless you and your Sunday school as you continue to work for Him.